Hey everyone, our third and final discussion with Greg Dickerson today is a topic I'm getting from a lot of my investors and actually a lot of homeowners on the channel. And that is, what do you think the biggest challenge is heading into 2021? So I thought I'd ask Greg that question first. Greg, what do you think? Real estate investing 2021 biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge in the single family sector is going to be inventory. We're still facing, inventory challenges there. And, what are the financing options and interest rate environment? What's that going to look like 2021? We're at
Mm.
record lows right now. It keeps creeping down. But at some point that's going to be, rising again. So inventory is still the number one challenge right now. New construction, we just did an episode on that. Costs are at an all-time high. Labor's at an all-time low. So it's taken longer by 20 to 30% to get things done. And it's costing 20 to 30% more than even a few years ago to build right now. But housing, in general is up, 20% over the last couple of years as well. But interest rates are so low, it's kind of a wash. Biggest thing in construction is time frames. Commercial, retail, office, obviously the biggest challenges there are going to be the new environment moving forward from COVID. What is that going to look like? How quickly can we get back into business where people can get out and about, return to offices, return to retail? And I believe people will. There's still a certain amount of retail that people want to touch, feel, see. They want to go out and browse. There's, the office environment, the collaborative office environment is not going away. We've got a $160 million Center of Entrepreneurship. It's called the Center for Developing Entrepreneurs in Charlottesville, Virginia, that's under construction. It's a co-working space, office space. All the office space is leased pretty much. Co-working space is going to be phenomenal. I'm probably going to base my headquarters out of there when that's done. Yeah, it's going to be a really, really cool project. So return to the office is not going to be, a thing. As soon as people can get back, they will, to a degree. Now, I think what a lot of companies realize is, man, we don't need as much space as we thought. Or we don't need to travel as much as we thought, but people are social. People want to get out, they want to travel, they want to connect. Hotels, disaster. Who knows when or how they're going to come back? I have no clue there.
I think we have too many hotel rooms to use that. I think that is the most stress. I think office can come back, make it co-working. I think you adjust that, less people per square foot. I think office is okay. But man, hotels, too many hotels in the wrong spots, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm just not sure at what scale people are going to travel and do business conferencing like that, and how quickly we can get back to business conference sizes that can actually fill hotels.
Yeah.
So that's a big issue there. So hotels are still very dangerous. Industrial is a great space, but you got to be careful because a lot of people are rushing in. A lot of people are counting on the Amazon environment, but you got to watch your competition. So if you think you're going to be a fulfillment center, a distribution center, or whatever, Macy's, it was just in the news over the holidays. Macy's is turning some of their locations into distribution centers. So these companies are going to do it for themselves. So you got to just make sure that if you're going to get into that space, the industrial space, you're doing it in an area where it's a thing, where it's needed, and where, there is limited competition from other big box retailers that are going out of business and are converting. So you want to be careful there. Self-storage is always good, but oversaturated in a lot of markets. Mobile home parks are always great. You need big ones to generate, because it's low dollar, low rent. So the profit per pad is not as great. If you get into you can make more money if you do park-owned homes, but that's a whole nother nightmare. In terms of doing that. Now, the cool thing about commercial is if you're doing retail or even office and you're doing triple net, those are easier to understand and easier to predict because you're passing all the costs through to the tenant. So you're just basically looking at a return after debt service. So it's much easier to understand and predict your returns because you're passing everything else through. So those can be a really good space. And then of course you have multifamily, and I think multifamily has proven to be the most resilient through this environment. It's still a great space to be in, and you just got to watch what assets where. But there's a lot of competition for them. So I think your biggest challenges in every aspect except hotels, office, and retail is going to be lack of inventory.
Yeah. For me, I think, again, my expertise is single family. I think I can finally see single family inventory coming back. I just want to share this idea and just check for logic. I think what we missed this season, the selling season, the spring selling season, was the move up buyer, right? The move up buyer got nervous. A, they didn't want people touching their stuff. B, they were probably nervous about their job. But once we get past this, I'm thinking April of next year, right? Next year's selling season, I think we're going to have kind of a double, just a big rush of listings. And people are going to go, I want the bigger house. I want the newer house. I want the house on the golf course, because they're not going to be nervous. They're not going to be concerned. They're going to love low interest rate. And they're, for the most part, saving money, right? They're not traveling. They're not doing anything. They're building all this reserve. This year has been about painting the bedroom, changing the tile, all of that kind of home improvement, Home Depot, Lowe's. But I envision a spring selling season like we've never seen before, starting in April. Am I crazy? Am I reading the tea leaves wrong?
Depends on where we are with COVID. That's been the biggest hindrance on people wanting to put their houses on the market. The new work environment could play a factor with people not having to relocate now, as 6 months ago, they probably had to. Now they don't, in most instances. So it's going to be interest rates. It's going to be, do you have to relocate? And it's going to be, what does COVID look like? Now, the other interesting thing is, like a lot of the people that are calling for a housing crash and looking at the forbearance program and basing their forecast of collapse on forbearance, you got to understand what forbearance is. So a lot of people are taking advantage of forbearance because it doesn't affect your credit. It doesn't hurt you. And, it's like a vacation for making your
It's a
payments up to a
pause.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to a year. So people are banking their mortgage payment for 12 months. Why wouldn't you if you can? If you can call your lender and just say, hey, man, I don't want to make my payments. Some of them, they're not asking for any documentation. Now, I did a video on this, what happens after the forbearance period. So depending on the lender, they may or may not require full payment at the end of that. So at the end of forbearance, now you're in a loan modification situation. So you either have to pony up and pay it all back. So if you're rolling the dice and you're a Robinhood investor and you haven't been making your mortgage payment and you're playing day trading in Robinhood, that's probably not going to end well. So I wouldn't do that. And I know there's, a couple of people out there doing that, right? So they're thinking, man, I'm going to skip these payments and I'm going to double my money and I'll pay it all back and I'll be fine. And they're not only that, but they're doing margin deals. So if you don't understand what margin is, they can leverage the amount of money they have in their account. So when that goes bad, now you owe all that. So, you might have 100,000 in your account, and you leveraged it up, to $1 million, and you lose it all, you got to pay $1 million. So, that's serious stuff there.
Yeah.
T. Boone Pickens is probably one of the biggest ones that ever got billions of dollars of a margin call back during 08-09 crisis when he was making some bets.
I remember, yeah.
Huge, yeah. So anyways, enough of that soapbox. So people are doing that. So that can affect things too, because once you get to the end of the forbearance and you have to do a loan mod or something, you may or may not be able to sell. You may or may not want to. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects it. But a lot of these forbearance forecasts that people are calling into default, that's not what that's going to be.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say about forbearance, all that's dead on. The other thing about forbearance is it is an agreement between you and your bank, right? That's what the forbearance is. You don't start a foreclosure or a hit to your credit until there's a disagreement with you and your bank, i.e. the bank wants a payment and you can't pay it, whether that's all your mortgage, like the last 12 months in one chunk, or if that's just the next payment. That is when foreclosure processes can start. And again, in California, once forbearance period, the clock hasn't started. Forbearance periods end, bank wants money, you don't have money, that starts the clock. 90 days in California before an NOD can be filed. 180 days after that. So we're talking 2022 before anything, really could hit
foreclosures. And if you've been in forbearance and you can show you don't have the money, they're just going to do a loan mod. They're going to put it on the back of the loan. They're going to move it forward. Now, if you get to that period and you've got the money, well, they're going to say, look, you need to pay us. So just be prepared for that. If you're in a modification, strategic loan modification, just because you can, they're going to ask for that money back if you can show that you've got it in the bank. Yeah,
they're going to look at that financial statement. So again, what I would tell people to look for at 2021 is do your homework now. I think still time to learn your market, whether that's single family, multifamily, retail, office, industrial. Learn. I think it's going to get interesting, kind of April, May, June, when the vaccine's out, we start to feel better, right? Right now, it's kind of, we're in a dark space of Q4. We all see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's how far away. So now's the time to do your homework. Don't wait. Do your homework now so you're ready to take advantage when things turn around. Would you agree?
Yep, I would agree because the biggest challenge is going to be inventory, which means finding good deals, depending on your definition of good deals. So you're going to have to modify your business model and understand and look at things a different way. So you got to educate yourself on the different acquisition strategies, different exit strategies, different financing techniques, different ways to make a deal work, so that you're not completely locked out. But I think based on what we're seeing right now, finding good deals and inventory is going to be the big challenge, to continue into 2021.
Very cool, Greg. Well, thank you very much for your time this Monday. I appreciate you. Always fun to talk.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it.
Thanks.